what specific terms would Russia need to agree upon for a ceasefire to materialize in the near future? You've mentioned a change of the Ukrainian regime would be something Russia wants. Does it also include no NATO presence on the borders of Russia?
Of course, no NATO is part of the Russian demands, but not only no NATO. Look, for example, to the NATO. Russia absolutely not agree with ideas that Western politicians just will say, oh, we don't want to take Ukraine to the NATO. No, 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 no. We never trust now to any Western politician. We demand so-called Austria model, which worked very well for the Austria Republic in the middle of Europe, meaning that neutrality should be in Constitution Austria and in Constitution in Ukraine, and also the neutrality should be respected on the base by international treaty. Neutrality of Austria had been signed by United States, Great Britain, France, and Russia, Soviet Union those time. Exactly the same should be for the neutrality of Ukraine. It should be proved by international treaty. It's about neutrality of Ukraine. But if to talk about ceasefire, yes, we understand. Ceasefire has only one plan. Preparation of Ukrainian army for the more bloody, intensive war against Russia. And France and Germany don't hide away that they're going to use ceasefire period just for sending the occupation troops to the Ukrainian territory, and also to set up in Romania and Poland anti-rocket missile system which should protect France and British troops on the Ukrainian territory, but also Ukrainian troops on the Ukrainian territory. It means that ceasefire will lead to the war between Russia and NATO. Probably which will lead to the nuclear war between Western countries and Russia. And of course, it's crazy, absolutely destructive idea. Russia suggested ceasefire, yes, but with clear treaties that Western countries will not send their troops to the Ukrainian territory during this period, and Western countries didn't send their weaponry to Ukrainian territory during a period of ceasefire.
Well, Ms. Tsukerman, then how might European leaders respond if Trump pushes through a deal perceived as unfavorable to Ukraine's sovereignty?
Well, first of all, I doubt President Trump will be able to do that because President Zelensky is not going to take such a deal. Moreover, Ukraine is far less dependent on U.S. assistance now than it was in the earlier stages of the war. It has significant leverage independently, both in terms of weapons and in terms of political support, and Europe is providing much more aggressive assistance than earlier on as well. However, even talk of such deals is already raising alarm, distrust, and fragmentation. Europe's reaction to an effort in that direction is going to be sharp and critical. European governments, already cautious after years of balancing Russian aggression and energy dependencies, view Ukrainian sovereignty as a red line. Any deal undermining that principle risks fracturing transatlantic unity. Countries like Poland, the Baltics, and Germany are reviewing their defense posture and becoming leaders in Europe in terms of war preparedness, and they have also invested heavily in supporting Ukraine militarily and economically. They will resist any deal seen as rewarding Russian expansionism because they know that they are likely to be next. Public opinion across Europe, especially in war-affected states, is also strongly pro-Ukraine, limiting political leaders' flexibility. So if Trump does succeed in pushing such a deal or taking steps that affect Ukraine's sovereignty, it will provoke a major diplomatic fallout, which will lead to strained US-European relations, weakened NATO cohesion, and emboldening Moscow even further. Moreover, it risks setting a dangerous precedent that territorial conquest can be negotiated post facto, undermining the entire post-World War security order and potentially leading to Trump's own aggression against Greenland and other Western allies.
Well, Mr. Markov, what assurances, if any, has Russia offered to guarantee its commitment to meaningful negotiations beyond past failures? Are we basically just taking President Putin's word and President Trump's word that Russia is still willing to negotiate ceasefire talks with Ukraine?
No, as already mentioned, ceasefire is a bloody, dirty idea of European Party of War, and ceasefire is preparation for the bloody, more bloody stage of the war. So no ceasefire. Ceasefire could be only one of the characteristics of the movement to the peace if peace deal already set up. Russia suggested to discuss peace deal, but not ceasefire deal.
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Trump agreed with Vladimir Putin. By the way, I was asked just 1 hour ago by correspondent of Washington Post why Donald Trump had been agree yesterday with almost every citizen of Vladimir Putin. And my response, that's very easy. Because Donald Trump wants peace on Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin also wants peace in Ukraine. And Donald Trump knows this about Vladimir Putin. And Donald Trump knows that European leaders want not peace, but war. And Donald Trump also knows that Zelensky wants war, but not peace. Europeans also want war, but not peace. So it's very easy. That's why Donald Trump accepted arguments of Vladimir Putin. Let's talk about peace deals, this main idea of Vladimir Putin. Let's talk about solution of the reasons of why this war happened. And this is Russophobia, this is politics of terror against Orthodox Church. How we Russians, who is Orthodox Christians, can agree with policy of terror against Orthodox Church in